I believe the most important question you can ask yourself as a dog owner is, how is the relationship between me and my dog? In this video, I'm going to break down 5 factors for you to consider and rate yourself. I'm also going to demystify some social media bullshit around your relationship too. And at the end, even if you have a perfect score with your dog's relationship, I'm going to give you 2 bonuses that will make your dog happier. And who doesn't want a happier dog? Let's get into it. Bonjour, you beautiful thing. My name is Evan Doggett. No, I didn't change it to become a dog trainer, and I've been helping pet parents and dog trainers for over a decade. As somebody who is happily married, and it takes a lot of work to be happily married, I understand relationships. I'm also the son of 2 great parents, relationship. I've also had a shitload of bosses because I did just about every job under the sun before becoming a dog trainer. And not all of those were great relationships. It takes work. But first, let's define what is a relationship. Google says a relationship is the connection between 2 or more things and how they interact with each other. So that's very important to define because your relationship with your dog or dogs is different than your relationship between your partner and your dogs, than your children and your dog or dogs. And that's okay. It's great, it's healthy, it's normal for everybody to have a slightly different relationship. Now, when you want to stop and think about what's like the perfect relationship for you and your dog, I think the best analogy, I've thought a lot about this, is not a comparison between like parent and child, even though you might identify as like your dog is your kid, that's fine. And we don't want to use a comparison between like your partner, your lover, and your dog, because that's just weird. But I think the best analogy is between a really good boss and an employee. So you're the boss in this analogy and the dog is your employee. Now, I've had some absolutely terrible bosses, people that I wanted to murder. And I've had some bosses that, although they were my boss, although I had to listen to them, although there were rules and stipulations and boundaries and stuff, I genuinely love them. They became friends over time. We hung out outside of work. There was trust. There was, just all the characteristics that you would want in a healthy relationship. And at the end of the day, here's why I think it's so important, because your job is to take care of your pet. Your job is to make sure that they are safe, that they are taken care of, that they don't do really stupid things that so many of them want to do. That's their first choice, is to do really dumb things. Let's briefly talk about what a good relationship isn't. It can't be all the Pinterest and the social media stuff that you see. Social media is so brutal because it only shows you the best of the best. Nobody's posting videos of, cleaning diarrhea up from the foot of the bed all the way down the stairs into the living room and on the couch. They're only showing you the ASMR videos where little Shiba Inus have coconut cream on their, I don't know if it's coconut, I don't get facials very often, cucumbers on the rise, and little like sponges for their noses, and scrubbing their paws and fluffing them up. They don't show you the videos of the Shiba Inu also shaking the baby. So on that note, it's okay if your relationship right now is shit. It's okay if you find yourself more frustrated with your dog than not frustrated. You're not alone in that. Some dog trainers will make you feel absolutely horrible about that. It's real. It's normal. I love my human children and I love my dogs, but they both drive me bananas sometimes. And then I have to pause and take responsibility for it and go, okay, what do I need to change? And it's typically one of these 5 factors. The first one is communication. What I mean by communication is how you talk to, how you interact with your dog, how you're able to say something with an expectation of your animal doing something. And equally, when they're saying something to you, are you listening? Are you able to read and understand what it is that they're saying? Because fundamentally, you are different species. Like, we're humans, they're dogs. Also, if you can't admit that your dog is a dog, this is probably a good time for you to leave, seek some psychological help, and then come back. Just pause the video. We'll wait for you. Okay, welcome back. So you as a human, your primary communicator, not your sole communicator, but your primary communicator is verbal, is spoken language. And your dog's primary is body language. They communicate through their head position, their tail, their body, their everything, their mouth open, their mouth closed, their tongue forward, out to the side. It's all saying something as an overall picture. So it's your job as the boss, as the leader, to communicate what you're trying to say when you're trying to say it, and also make it as easy to understand as possible. So just because your dog's their primary language is body language doesn't mean you have to do complete sign language to your dog. But adding body language will really help your dog understand what it is that you're trying to communicate. And I think there's 5 major things, the most important things that you need to have as a foundation of communication before you start teaching other things. So the 5 are come, and that means leave where you are, come back and face me. Very specific. And I should preface, stay is implied with all of these 5. The second one would be heel. So heel is twofold. It's come and be by my left-hand side or my right-hand side. Be in a specific position facing the same direction as me. Because you might want to alert your dog to the fact that there's something coming towards you, but also be beside me, which you're going to see why that's important later. And then also heel means stay in that position as we move in a forward direction. As we're moving together, turning, whatever, that you stay in this bubble. So heel. Sit, which means put your bum on the ground, but not just, so many dogs understand sit as come and sit. But sit just means put your bum on the ground and stay. Down, very similar, whether you're 100 yards away, lay down, or you're right beside me, facing me, or on the left, or on the right, or maybe even behind me. That's clear communication. And finally, place. So place just means boundary training. Go to a designated area, go sit on your bed, go on the picnic table, get on the rock, get on the fire hydrant, get into the back seat, and stay there. I don't care if you're standing, sitting, laying down, I can add those, but go there, stay there, be in a designated area. This is going to be really important later on. It's also really important to have a yes marker and a no marker. One that says, continue, you're doing the right thing, and the other one that says, stop doing that, you're doing the wrong thing. And when you have those 7 total things, it makes it much easier to move forward with your dog, to let them know you're doing right, you're doing wrong. Hey, we're in a situation, life is real right now, please do one of these 5 things. And then it's okay if you want to talk to your dogs. I talk to my dogs all the time. I'm silly with them, I sing them songs, I fool around. It doesn't need to be so damn serious all the time that you can only say those 7 things to your dog. They do pick up on phrases. They do pick up on body language. They pick up on your mood, for God's sakes. But also please understand that when you're in a difficult situation and you're trying to verbally explain in long sentence form what your dog is doing, and a lot of times I see this in like the reassurance of dogs, like, it's okay, that's my friend Tom. Your dog doesn't understand those things. They often understand just like the soothing factor of that, but it will often make dogs more anxious because you're just giving positive reinforcement, good job, to negative emotions, to like, I'm scared of Tom, or I want to eat Tom. That's where communication can get screwed up a little bit. And if you're unsure how to reassure your dog, one of the easiest things to do is to communicate with them in one of the 5 commands. So that way you can just give them something to do that they go, oh, I've practiced this before. I'm rehearsed in this level of communication. So I want you to give yourself a rating right now for your communication. Does your dog understand those 5 things? And yes or no, do they get that? And just be honest, this is for you. 0 to 5. 0 being they know nothing. 5 being they know how to do all of those things regardless of the distraction, regardless of the environment. 2, boundaries. They should be very clear anyway when you're in a job. And if you've been in a job where boundaries weren't clear, you know how brutal this is. How far can I push you? What can I get away with? I had many bosses that were just like, yeah, show up when you want. And then they get mad at you when you were a little bit too late. Well, what's too late? Is it 5? Do I start at 5 or do I start at 5:05 or do I, when things are very clear? So for your dog, that can be something as simple as the boundaries of your home. You're allowed in this part of the home. You're allowed in bed, you're not allowed in bed. You're allowed on the couch, you're not allowed on the couch. You're allowed to jump up on me, you're not allowed to jump up on me. You get to decide what your boundaries are. But I'll tell you right now, if you have no boundaries, if you don't have a list, and this is a great thing to do as a family, set your boundaries. What are we allowing the dog to do? Because it can be very frustrating and confusing rather for I get confused. It can be very confusing for the dog to go, well, when dad's in the room, I get to jump on the furniture, but when mom's in the room, I'm not allowed to go on the furniture. So which is it? So boundaries. Do you have your lists? Give yourself a 0 to 5. Are you following it all the time? Do you wane? Is it causing problems in the family? Give yourself a rating. Number 3, trust. Trust is an interesting one, and it can take more thinking because sometimes our psychology is wrong when it comes to dogs. We think, a lot of times based on social media, what we should be doing with the dog is correct, like taking them to dog parks, taking them to doggy daycare, taking them to the fireworks. And it's very overwhelming to the dog, and it's not going well. They get beat up at the dog park. They're getting bullied at daycare, or, God, sometimes abused at daycare. It's an unregulated industry. And you taking them to these places repeatedly, or to like busy places, and they can't handle the stress, it will affect the dog's ability to trust you because they're really stressed out and you keep repeating the same thing. Trust is also on a very physical level, on a very just real level of, can I do things with you and you trust me that I'm not going to hurt you? And you might have accidentally like clipped your dog's nails and hurt them. I've done that thousands of times, but it's, can we work past this moment? You're not supposed to be perfect all the time. You've got to rebuild when trust is lost a little bit. Especially you get a rescue dog or something, you gain a little bit of trust and then they get a little untrustful. They're uncertain whether or not it's going to be great all the time. That's natural. That's normal. But it's doing things in a slow, steady way, but progressing. Sometimes people are way too slow with things, especially with rescue dogs. They're like, well, I've only had the dog for 2 years, so I don't know if I can cut their nails yet. It's better to start earlier than later. So building trust is also taking chances. It's trying things in a systematic way to go, and then reporting back to go, how did that go? A huge thing that you can do with trust, it's challenging, but it's really important, is, are you sticking up for your dog? Are you letting your dog know that you have their back? That if another dog charges them, you'll charge at that dog, hey, really like driving the other dog away. I didn't say it was going to be easy. It can be a hard thing to do. It can be socially awkward. But are you letting your dog get bullied at the dog park? And if you can't do those things, if you don't feel comfortable doing those things, sticking up for your dog, don't put them in those situations. And or walk with a stick. It's so easy to drive dogs away if you have a stick, but if you're swinging a stick at a dog park, it's going to be very awkward for you. Just avoid those places. Teach your dog 100% off-leash recall with e-collar training. There's a link in the description of how to get started with that and to my online course. But then you can be out and about and free with your dog, and if you get charged by off-leash dogs in that scenario and you have a stick, then you should be okay. So does your dog trust you? 0 out of 5. Do you trust your dog? 0 out of 5. Are they unpredictable? Number 4, have fun with your dog. It doesn't all need to be obedience and work and, stuff like that. It can be genuinely a good time. But what you define to be a good time and what your dog defines to be a good time might be different things. I think the easiest way to think about this is to look at the breed or breeds of your dog and do something that fulfills their breed. If you have a hunting dog, let them chase something. Maybe get involved in sports, dogs breed specific sports, like hunting and flushing and retrieving. You'll meet some cool people and you'll have a good time. But maybe you don't have time for that, and it's just throwing a bumper, throwing a ball for them, fulfilling that genetic desire to bite and to shake. So many people have rescue pit bulls and they don't play tug with them. They don't do bite sports because they're scared that it's going to make your dog more aggressive, when I would argue that it's doing the opposite by not playing with them. You want to engage them. You want them to bite and take that frustration out on the toy and have fun with that. It's just a toy. They're not going to go and chomp your toddler. But you also get to work on your communication and your boundaries. We're not going to play tug all the time whenever you want. You being the boss, there's a certain time. There's a time frame. There's a time limit to these things. It's not just when you want to. Yeah, maybe you pick up your ball, you bring it over to me, and now's the time. But equally, you need to be able to say, hey, within these boundaries, we can't do that. And if you have a dog that struggles with boundaries, that means, okay, you got to change some things and put the balls away, put the toys away. I can't have balls and toys loose all the time now that Parker's around, because he will pick that up and be throwing it in the air, and I'm on the phone, I got the kids, whatever, and it's just too much. So I've had to change some of my boundaries in relation to having fun with my dog. It needs to be a little bit more systematic. And number 5, you might not want to hear this one, but it's very important. Spend time apart. If you are with your boss 24 hours a day, or you use the other analogy, you're with your partner, you're with your kids 24 hours a day, you will begin to resent them. And even if you don't, it's not healthy. It's not normal. You won't be able to cope apart from each other. And God forbid something happens to you. God forbid something happens to your dog, which inevitably is going to happen to both of you. You want to be okay apart. You can apply this as simply by teaching place, getting your dog to go and be on their bed while you watch a movie on the couch. Doesn't mean that you can't spend time snuggling and being right up against each other, but you need to have the ability to go, you over there, me over here. Another fantastic way, and if you have a new puppy or a new rescue dog, is a crate. Some dogs really struggle with place, being over there and staying there. You can confine them to a crate, to an X-pen, to create some distance so that you can go to the grocery store and not have to take your dog with you and pass them off as an emotional support animal. Time apart makes the heart grow fonder. So give yourself a rating, 0 to 5. Are you guys able to do this? How healthy is that? All right, tally that up with a total score of 25. How did you do? I know there are some areas that I need to work on with my dogs, and the more dogs you have, the harder this becomes, because you want to spend individual time with your dogs to keep that relationship as strong as possible. All right, as promised, the 2 bonuses. Bonus number 1 to get your dog happier, healthier, live a longer time is get them at least 3 times a week to the point of complete exhaustion. It's the same in dogs as it is in humans. When you get to the point of heavy breathing exhaustion, it releases a ton of sustained dopamine that your dog will be happier. They will feel more satiated. And I think, I don't know this for a fact, but I think based on everything I've learned about cold plunging and cold exposure, is that also increases dopamine exponentially over a period of days. Like, it's sustained. You get it immediately, but then it's sustained. So I think if you have access to cold water and your dog can handle it and it's safe, that you exercise them in, like swimming in lakes, swimming in rivers, doing exposure to cold as well. Should theoretically make your dog overall happier and live a longer time. Bonus number 2 is something that I've said, and I got to change it in the 7 Elements online course, is that I used to recommend that, when people go to work or they have puppies or whatever, to put something dark, put a blanket, put something, black out your windows when you go to work. That actually will mess up your dog's circadian rhythm. They should be able to calm down without a blanket over top. You want sunlight, you want daylight to reach your dog, so that way their circadian rhythm is balancing. They are used to napping. They need a lot of sleep, probably more than they're getting. Allow them in their little den, if they have a little nook that the sunlight can get in. But then at nighttime, make sure, because we have so many lights and different things, and all of these fluorescent lights are really bad for your and your dog's circadian rhythm. So give them an area that's completely blacked out, so that way they can really get into REM sleep, because they go in for a shorter period of time. They go in deeper, but they go in for a shorter period of time, and we really want to give them that environmental decompression, which is so important and will make them happier. So that way when they're awake, they feel more refreshed. I would love to hear your score and something that you're going to work on. Put it in the comments below, and check out one of these videos on exercises that you can do to work on your relationship with your dog. Basic things that you can apply today. And as always, know that you're loved. Bye, meow.